Coming up on SBU TV, we take a look at the street construction in downtown Olean, and St. Bonaventure has a new president. Hello and welcome to SBU TV. I'm Natalie.
And I'm Sammi. It won't be long until the rows of construction cones disappear from North Union Street. Amelia Kibbe has the story.
While some straightening up is still in order on North Union Street, Olean Mayor William Aiello said the project is in its final stages. The mayor says the two-year, $8.85 million project replaced 5 traffic lights with 5 roundabouts.
4 lanes of traffic out there. You had crosswalks that people had to cross 4 lanes of traffic. So that's, your head's on a swivel.
In addition to its new look, Olean will save thousands of dollars in electrical costs.
The efficiency of it, stop lights, you have traffic sitting there. And this way here, you're going to have traffic continuously moving down through it.
Although at first a touch skeptical of the changes, the mayor says he now looks forward to the project's completion in mid-October.
At the beginning, we had a lot of people that were skeptical about it. Okay, and I was one myself. About when the project was first being developed and thought about, and grants were put in for and that. But as the project started to come to fruition, it started really looking nice. And we went from people who were naysayers, now we have people who are very happy that it is in.
Olean officials set October 21st as a ribbon cutting for the project, but according to the mayor, the contractor has until October 27th to complete the project. With SBU TV, I'm Amelia Kibbe.
The mayor admitted times have been tough for some of the businesses during the construction, but he predicts business will pick up now that the roads are almost clear.
St. Bonaventure welcomed a new face this summer to lead the university. I had a chance to talk with him. An active search for St. Bonaventure's new leader began last year when Sister Margaret announced her decision to step down from her presidency. Dr. Andrew Roth is set to serve as the university's interim president for this academic year. The school's reputation was well preserved during Sister Margaret's career, and Dr. Roth believes the university is still placed in good hands, his own.
I'm here because this is St. Bonaventure. This isn't St. Nobody in the woods. This is one of the best Catholic universities in the country, and as I've said on a couple of occasions, if you drop the modifier Catholic, I still think it's one of the best universities in the country. And so that's what attracted me to St. Bonaventure.
Last year, the campus community established a strategic plan for the university to engage in. Roth describes that plan and what it entails.
The strategic plan consists of 7 strategic initiatives around a common theme: competitive advantage and increased enrollment, students first, operational excellence, financial prioritization, a culture of faculty and staff excellence, academic distinction, the importance of outcomes, being held accountable to actually get things done, and sustainable academic programs.
Since Roth is only at the university for 1 year, he stressed the importance of leaving the school in a strong position for the next candidate.
I'd like to leave the successor with a functioning university, with a strategic plan that is being implemented, and with a university that is, with their eyes, wide open, having frank and constructive conversations about several critical issues that they will have to deal with.
The interim, like many others, believes Bonaventure is a community unlike any other.
Something really wonderful happens when people are here. People bond to one another and to the school, and that bond lasts a lifetime.
Although Dr. Roth will only serve for this year, the search for a permanent president continues.
After seeing a decrease in freshman enrollment at St. Bonaventure University for years, officials say this year's numbers are finally increasing. Lian tells us more.
Freshman enrollment numbers have increased by about 10% this year. After university officials hired a new vice president for enrollment in May of 2015, freshman enrollment jumped from about 390 freshmen last academic year to about 430. The university's goal was to enroll about 460 freshmen. VP of Enrollment Bernie Valento says the exact number of freshmen will be final after the withdrawal deadline, the third Monday of the fall semester. He adds, the collaboration of different university departments has led to more recruits, specifically among student athletes.
Typically in a given year in the past, we'd enroll around 75 freshmen that were recruited specifically for athletics. This year it's approximately 100 students.
Valento's enrollment team meets with the deans and chairs of different departments on a regular basis to work on a collective recruitment plan. He also says the plan is very aggressive.
It's everything from texting students to maximizing our effectiveness with social media. We meet the student wherever they're at, whether that's print. We still do a lot of print material. We do electronic communications as an email, website, outreach. All these efforts, all these forms of media are very important.
He says the strategic plan for the next 5 years was developed by over 100 people across the campus. The Board of Trustees will vote to approve the plan during its meeting this weekend.
I just would emphasize that it's a living document. You don't develop a strategic plan and just set it on a shelf. You obviously have to adjust the plan as it's a living document, and you have to adjust each year.
With SBU TV, I'm Lian Bunny.
This year, Bonaventure enrolled around 130 more new undergraduate and graduate students than last year.
What do eye-popping colors and quirky designs have in common? Madeleine Faircloth gives us the scoop.
The Quick Center periodically rotates exhibitions in its Marianne Letro Lane Gallery, this year featuring Asian art from the 17th to 19th centuries.
St. Bonaventure's art history professor, Chisato Dubreuil, put together an art exhibit on kimonos this year, adding a few personal touches from her own family origin.
I just want to give the general idea about the kimono. Kimono means things to wear, basically clothing in Japanese. And most people don't know much about the kimono, history of the kimono and kind of general background, because people's idea about the kimono is much about like a geisha dressing or some kind of Orientalism, very kind of romantic notions of the clothes. So I just want to give you the kind of general kind of background and with the cultural context of the kimono. So I'm kind of showing to you. Kimono of Ainu. Most of people in the West doesn't know Ainu is the indigenous people in Japan. And I'm part of Ainu, my mother's side, and this is my kimono.
The exhibit also features a video showing the proper process to get into kimonos and the different uses for each type. For SBU TV, I'm Madeleine Faircloth.
The kimono exhibit is open to the public Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. with no end date as of yet. Sammy, we should have brought our kimonos to this newscast.
It definitely would have been comfortable. I think we should next time. With recent protests, one NFL player makes a major stand. Or should I say sit? Chris Gilbert has the story.
Remember when Kaepernicking was the thing? Well, it's back, with a whole new meaning to it. It's no longer Colin Kaepernick putting his arm up to his face, but rather it's polarizing the American public. And at St. Bonaventure University, this issue of sitting for the national anthem is playing a major role. It's a topic that the faculty is not taking lightly.
My opinion is I don't agree with how he's going about it, but I do have to give him a little bit of credit that he is being successful in what his attempt was, which was to gain recognition for this cause.
Peaceful protest, and the ironic part is the people are going, you're disrespecting the military. The First Amendment, which protects his right to protest, protects his right to speak and symbolically speak, is a part of what the military was fighting for in every war they've ever fought.
I think that being an athlete is the difference. It's somebody that has notoriety and carries weight.
Bonaventure students aren't staying quiet about this either. The question being posed, whether or not the 49ers quarterback is the right advocate for this, and whether or not he's actually going to try to make a change.
He has an explanation, even if I disagree with it. He's in his rights. You don't even need an explanation. In this country, you have the right to do anything and say anything as long as you don't hurt somebody else, no matter what other people think of it.
I think that one person can make a change. To make changes, you need a cohort of people to seriously have some kind of political action, and demonstrations like he made are what get people talking about it. And once we start talking about it as a community and start having serious discussions about it, we can hope for the best possible change.
For SBU TV, I'm Chris Gilbert.
The NFL season kicked off last night, and the 49ers will play on Sunday.
While students spent the summer enjoying the sunshine, local farmers were praying for rain. Ethan Kibbe has the story.
They say to make hay while the sun shines, but what happens when the sun shines too much?
This summer, a lack of rainfall has caused a drought in Cattaraugus County. This drought has had a major impact on area farmers who have had to resort to new methods to get enough of the crops their farms depend on.
Growers need the same amount of crops as usual. Since fields are underproducing, farmers have been forced to find new sources of material. Brad Saladay, a farmer in Portville, says he has harvested crops off fields that he almost never uses because they don't grow plants well.
And with it being dry early, it didn't produce the yields like we were looking for, and we're covering a lot more acres to get the actually less material.
Saladay says the drought means farmers have to spend more during the harvest. He says his production is down over 40% from what it usually is. As a result, he has to spend 40% more money for the same yield.
It's costing us that much more in fuel and that much more in time, and we're just not getting the material. So, basically, almost double our cost for less material.
According to Lynette Wright of the United States Department of Agriculture, Cattaraugus County farmers can apply for federal loans to help offset the costs caused by the drought.
Saladay says livestock have been affected too, as farmers have trucked in water for their cows to drink. For SBU TV, I'm Ethan Kibbe.
To qualify for a loan, farmers must show a 30% decrease from their average crop yield.
Over the summer, updates were made to enhance campus safety. Katie Brown has the story.
Although St. Bonaventure has over 20 emergency phones spread around campus, Director of Safety and Security, Gary Seagrew, felt there was room for improvement.
Last year we decided in the spring to do an inventory of all the emergency phones. There was not an inventory done prior to that. And we observed that some of the phones were not working properly.
Seagrew replaced the old trail phone on Clare Road to the warming hut, only 300 feet away. The other phones were placed on the east side of campus.
2 went in Townhouse 21, 22, and 2 went on the Gardens apartments, 1 on the east, 1 on the west.
Since updating and creating new phone emergency systems this year, security has been able to ease some student anxiety.
Being away from home, safety is like something that I'm always thinking about, like walking home from townhouses, Francis, the Gardens, going to Dubreuil so late at night. So knowing that those lights are there makes me feel like reassurance that I know that there's something there if something does happen.
Well, yeah, if you have an emergency, there's some way to contact help right nearby. But it's comforting to know they're there, I guess.
And how do you contact help when using emergency phones?
The emergency phones have several features on them. Some have a dial pad where you can dial 911 or you can dial safety and security, but all of them have an emergency button, and if that button is activated, it goes directly to safety and security. So wherever you are, if you just push the button, you'll get safety and security right away.
For SBU TV, I'm Katherine Brown.
If you're ever in an emergency, call Safety and Security at 716-375-2525.
St. Bonaventure's new policy is having an impact on more than just students. Brittany Slomba tells you more.
The new St. Bonaventure housing policy clearly says that all students, with the exception of seniors, are required to live on campus. But what does that mean for student housing landlords?
As an owner of 8 off-campus houses, Mike Conroy has his own take on St. Bonaventure's new housing policy.
So far, I see their side of it, and I'm not in disagreement with it. It's only affected us in that our houses are not rented to full capacity.
Conroy added that he is optimistic about the future of St. Bonaventure's enrollment. For SBU TV, I'm Brittany Slomba.
To learn more about the policy, visit sbu.edu.
It has been 2.5 decades since St. Bonaventure University officially distanced itself from its former mascot, but some ghosts continue to haunt the school to this day. Nate Discavage has the story.
We're nobody's mascots.
Native Americans call themselves many things. The one thing they don't.
For almost 50 years, the St. Bonaventure Bonnies were formerly known as the Brown Indians before the university decided to distance themselves from the nickname back in 1992. That doesn't mean that the mascot has disappeared completely, however. The old St. Bonaventure logo consisted of a capital B combined with the headdress from a nearby Seneca nation. However, it was deemed offensive by the university administration, and they ultimately retired it in exchange for the Bonafanatic, which eventually turned into the Bonnies. Recently, there have been more and more bees creeping back onto campus, from laptop stickers to t-shirts to tattoos. Clothing distributors continue to sell shirts imprinted with the logo, claiming to be selling them to alumni. Director of Residential Life Nicole Gonzalez has stated that she hopes to hold more civil dialogue sessions to allow more students to talk about what it means to have the Brown Indians logo. For SBU TV, I'm Nate Discavage.
Associate Athletic Director for External Relations, Steve Mest, said earlier that the St. Bonaventure Athletic Department is focusing its resources on other matters and will not try and hunt down vendors that are still distributing merchandise with the old logo.
Roswell Park Cancer Institute is giving new hope to one of its young patients. Sammi has the story.
It's called glioblastoma multiforme, an aggressive form of brain cancer typically found in patients over the age of 50. But now the malignant disease has targeted a much younger patient.
He had 9 surgeries in about 4 months.
The Roswell Park Cancer Institute and Sebastian Bradley are battling his brain tumor. We sat down with Sebastian's grandmother to hear more about his fight.
Sebastian ended up at the emergency room in Buffalo. He had been having really bad headaches, and they had told him it was just migraines. Well, the one night it was so bad that they took him to the emergency room, and they found out he had stage 4 glioblastoma, which is, it can't be cured.
Roswell Park has a new innovative vaccine therapy.
I've taken care of many patients with malignant brain tumors, and it's a tough disease to treat. And the prospect of having a treatment that has a low side effects but might prolong survival for patients with this disease is really gratifying to me.
The Cervax-M vaccine is engineered to treat cervivin-expressing cancer cells as foreigners, inciting a specific immune response, hoping to destroy the cancer.
He's doing very well, and there is no cure for this cancer, but they are working on some cures. Actually, I have cut articles out about the glioblastoma in an adult girl, 22. She has been cured. It's been 4 years, but the lifespan for this cancer is 12 to 18 months.
The hope is there for Sebastian and his family. The optimistic 8-year-old started back at school earlier this week and is not going to stop fighting anytime soon.
He's a brave man. He really is. He's a brave kid.
For SBU TV, I'm Sammi Arena.
To find out more about Sebastian and to donate, please go to gofundme.com/SebastianStrong.
That does it for us here in the Coop. I'm Sammi Arena.
And I'm Natalie Kucko. Thanks for watching.
Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen, for the Wolfpack Report. I'm Mike DeSanto.
And I'm Hailey Gattuso. See you next time.
Welcome to the Wolfpack Report. I'm Mike DeSanto.
And I'm Hailey Rose Gattuso. Today I'll be interviewing Kieran Toland, captain of the men's soccer team.
And I'll be talking with new women's basketball head coach, Jesse Fleming. We'll be with our guests in a moment.
Welcome back to the Wolfpack Report. I'm Hailey Rose Gattuso, here with Kieran Toland. Hi, Kieran.
Hello.
Can you start off by telling us how you got started with your soccer career?
I would basically say that my dad kind of pushed it on me when I was a younger kid.
started playing when I was 4 or 5 years old, and then ever since then it just kept progressing.
Did you ever see yourself as becoming a D1 athlete?
Not really, no. I didn't ever plan on coming to America. I always thought I would try and make it professional when I was back home, and obviously things didn't turn out the way I wanted them to, so I decided to come to America.
And how do you like everything so far?
My first 2 years of Bonaventure have been the best 2 years of my life. I don't regret ever coming here. And the soccer hasn't worked out well, but it's slowly getting better. I'm glad to be a part of it.
Can you tell me how you've tried to lead your team as a captain this year?
I'm just trying to be more inspirational than anything. The kids on the team are showing like good progress, so that's always a positive, and I'm just trying to show them the right things to do and how to act both on and off the field.
And what does that entail for you?
Just basically keep doing the right things, just like acting in the right sort of manner around different people, acting in the right manner when you're on the field as well, and just keeping them going the right direction.
Can you give us an example of what a daily routine looks like for you?
So right now we practice at 6 a.m. and finish practice just before 9. I would go from there to get breakfast and then head to classes to about 2 or 3 o'clock, then go study hall, go back to lunch, study hall, and then to bed at night.
How have you learned to balance your academics and your sport?
It's been hard because when I first came out here I was all about my sport. I just came here, worked on soccer, and then after my first semester I realised how important academics actually was. So I started to try and balance out my practice times with my study times, and then gradually my academics got better, so then I realised that I had to balance them out accordingly.
What's next for you?
Hopefully graduate from here and move on to bigger and better things. Hopefully try and get something professional, if not in America, maybe somewhere else in the world.
Nice. Thank you so much, Karen.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the Wolfpack Report. I'm Mike DeSanto here with women's basketball coach Jessie Fleming. Coach Fleming, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So I know you're an alumni of Bonaventure. I believe you graduated in 2005. So what's it like to be back at your alma mater?
Yeah, I graduated in 2005 and then actually worked here until 2011. So I spent 10 years here and then was gone for 5 years. So it's been fantastic to be back with just some of the best people that you could work with, and just kind of back home to a little bit of my family. You know, maybe they're not related to me, but they're people that took care of me and helped me grow up through the years. So it's fantastic to be back.
Okay. And while you were here, you worked under now former head coach Jim Crowley. So what did you learn from Coach Crowley that's helped you in your coaching career?
I learned a ton from Coach Crowley. I learned, basically from kind of A to Z on how to be a college basketball coach. His approach was simple, but it made sense. The things that we did made sense to the players, and that's something that I've always got to remember, and I'm always reminded by when thinking about him, of just to keep it as simple as possible, because that's the way the players can react most. But yeah, he taught me, most of what I know in coaching.
Okay, and once you left Bonaventure, I know you went places like Stony Brook, most recently Bowling Green as an associate head coach. So while you were away from Bonaventure and coaching in different programs, what did you learn from those head coaches?
Yeah, I started with kind of a small world, because I started working with Beth O'Boyle at Stony Brook, and she's now the head coach at Virginia Commonwealth in the Atlantic 10, and they're one of the good programs in our league. Beth was a first-year head coach when I worked with her, so I got to really see it from her transition from an assistant to a head coach, and I learned a lot watching her. She gave me the opportunity to be on the road recruiting in New York City and New Jersey and Washington, D.C., areas that are big for us here at St. Bonaventure. So that was just a huge help for me in my career. And then Coach Roos at Bowling Green for 4 years allowed me to be the defensive coordinator, allowed me to talk in the huddles and things like that, and really do a lot of coaching on the floor, and get out and recruit Ohio, which is another really important area for us here at St. Bonaventure. So combining those experiences were just invaluable for me as a coach growing up.
Okay. And you mentioned recruiting, and I know you've had a pretty successful recruiting career at the schools you've been at. So what are you going to take from your recruiting, sort of the things you've learned in your style that you're going to apply here at St. Bonaventure?
Yeah, I think you just have to be, as a recruiter, you have to be genuine, and you have to, you've got to tell the truth. You can't really, that whole recruiting kids, you can't lie, because if they get here and you've lied to them with, hey, we're in a city of 1 million people, then they're not going to like it when they get here. You've got to be genuine. You've got to be very organized because you only have a limited recruiting budget. You only have a limited recruiting days to go out and see players. So you've got to be, every single minute that you use, phone call wise, on the road recruiting wise, you got to make it count. I think that's what I've learned through the years, and that's what I'll bring here. That the staff will definitely be super organized and make every moment count in recruiting.
Okay. And as you mentioned earlier, you were under Coach Crowley, and you've been under different head coaches. So even though your style, because you started under Crowley, may be somewhat similar to his, every head coach has their own style and has their own sort of brand of play. So how do you think you're going to evolve the women's basketball program from Crowley to yourself?
Yeah, Coach did just a fantastic job, and if I can repeat and build on his success, I'll be thrilled. We'll probably run a little bit more set plays than Coach ran. At least that's the plan right now. As far as the tempo and the defensive style, it's going to be a very similar look. The terminology will be very similar, but the team's going to change year to year for what we have offensively and defensive talent-wise. There might be some more ball screens than maybe in the past, but overall, it's going to look like a St. Bonaventure women's basketball team over the last few years, just with some small tweaks depending on how our players react to those tweaks.
Okay. And finally, you've had a lot of players from last season. The rosters look a little different. Some players have left, whether graduating or transferring. You've brought in a pretty good recruiting class to replace them. So looking at this team and what you have to deal with here in your first year at St. Bonaventure, what's your outlook on the upcoming season?
Yeah, our goal is always to just to play the best in March, and I don't know what that year to year that's going to change on what that'll be in March and what that'll look like. But that is always our goal, because I think that keeps us focused day to day to just get better. I love the team. We have fantastic players. We have fantastic people. But we've got a bunch of new faces. I think we have 6 newcomers and 6 returners. So we're split right down the middle. So it is a lot of teaching. It's just a lot of them getting to know me and the staff, and that's really what we're using the summer, what we use the summer, what we're using the fall for, and it's really going to be this year more than any other year of just working to get better every single day, because we have so much to learn and so much to still learn about ourselves that we'll really see in March if that goal has been reached.
Okay. Thank you, Coach.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen, for the Wolfpack Report. I'm Mike DeSanto.
And I'm Hailey Gattuso. See you next time.